About 3 years ago, I got really into virtual photography. It's the use of photo mode or camera tools in video games to frame and compose interesting shots. And on my journey through Ghost of Tsushima, I inadvertently froze the frame just as an NPC turned to look at me, and it sparked a kind of recognition in my brain. So I snapped a photo of the moment, and I followed him around for a bit, and I imagined what his life might be like. And then I tried the same thing in other games. I paid extra attention to clothing, character design, behavior patterns that I thought might go unnoticed by the average player. And here's what I learned in Insomniac Games' take on Manhattan in Spider-Man 2018 is nothing short of breathtaking. But the thing I appreciate most about its NPCs is the level of diversity. True to the spirit of New York, you'll see all kinds of folks and fashion choices here.
They needed to look diverse because that's kind of New York's thing, and they needed to interact with Spider-Man when you were down there.
And the developers have even talked about cool details like how you won't see its Orthodox Jewish NPCs if you're playing the game on a Saturday, the Jewish Day of Rest. The thing that caught my eye as a Muslim was the attention to detail in NPCs' hijabs. The intricate floral patterns I found by zooming in took me completely by surprise, because most popular Western media tends to depict hijabs and headscarves as flat colors, even for main characters. In my experience with friends and family though, flat colors are the main and most common type of hijabi fashion, but they are still one type. Patterned hijabs can be a big part of self-expression through the garment, and to see that represented in a AAA game, even if in the background, was really cool.
And it was really cool. I was so excited when I was playing this weekend that I texted the lead character artist because I saw pedestrians walking around with a hijab again, and there's like yarmulkes, and I was like, oh gosh, this is so great. I'm so glad you got this in. Because I feel like it's our responsibility, especially if we have a voice in new media like video games.
Furthermore, I especially appreciate that there isn't one token hijabi character model. The garment can appear on a variety of different characters. Seeing this helped me better understand how the NPC models and their respective fashion choices work. They're procedurally generated in a way that's constantly mixing things up.
Let's go! Very nice!
As YouTube user Pantera pointed out, hijabis also shy away if Spidey goes in for a hug, since it would be frowned upon in Muslim culture. However, they still express their adoration towards him through respectful body language. One thing it'd be neat to see in future games, in Spider-Man 2 but also other games, is more patterns as well as more ways of wearing the garment, in addition to just recolors of the one I found. And this includes flat colors, showing that we don't just look different but also that we have different choices. This would be especially appreciated if Spider-Man 2 does indeed expand beyond Manhattan to include Queens, which boasts a significant Muslim population. In a 2019 GDC talk, principal technical artist David Santiago talks about how Spider-Man's open world is procedurally generated.
Procedurally authored open world. Pow!
It was something the team tried to solidify early in production, so artists could spend the rest of their time on polish.
So the goal for Spider-Man was to procedurally generate an open world early in production to give the designers and artists the remaining of our production time to polish the game.
One of the really interesting highlights is how the game's traffic system works. They ensured that pedestrians obey the right traffic laws, but just prior to the light turning green, they might speed up their walk across the intersection. And look, obeying laws might not be accurate to the Manhattan experience, but I don't think technology will ever reach the capacity it needs to program a New Yorker. I'd say Insomniac deserves the praise. Meanwhile, senior engine programmer Ilan Ruskin gave his own talk, revealing the original plan for the game's NPCs and how it changed. They were initially planned to be window dressing, not super detailed, and non-interactive.
Of course, here's the problem.
Needless to say, I'm glad this changed, and we have this, made that much more impressive with the knowledge that all this detail was implemented later into production.
Hey, I saw that fight with Vulture and Electro. That was some epic tag team action.
Ruskin talks about how he wishes they could have had better concurrency, crowd sim, and unique behaviors for police officers, etc. And you can feel the team start to address this with the 2020 sequel, Spider-Man Miles Morales. It reuses many of the same character models now in winter gear, but does feature, from what I gathered, a pool of new models that I didn't encounter in the original. The game also makes strides forwards in terms of unique animations. The change in weather is reflected by the changes to Central Park between the two titles.
Do you need a photo for the fan club?
In Spider-Man 2018, you could find NPCs doing yoga,
Hey, what's up?
or having picnics, you know, barbecues in the park. In Miles, it's too snowy for those activities to still be viable, so Insomniac reworked what kinds of things you might find them doing, like the new ice skaters. Meanwhile, NPCs doing morning stretches return from the first game. The people feeding pigeons come back as well, but there's a neat little change here I appreciate. In 2018, when you'd scare away the pigeons, they'd all fly away, leaving the NPC throwing seeds at empty space. In Miles, this was changed so that some of the pigeons stay behind. It's a simple but elegant update. The best places to see unique animations, though, are the sequences in which you play as Miles outside of his costume. Like Rio Morales' election campaign, where there's just this overwhelming sense of liveliness and quirky character details, little snippets of dialogue between extras. You might run into the reporter who reappears in a minor role at the end of the game. Or at the museum, you might run into someone at the front desk who has a completely unique design. Meanwhile, consider the Underground HQ, where you can see the game's enemy faction up close and personal. You get to see what these antagonists' day-to-day is like, outside of fighting Spider-Man. Here's some close-ups of their outfits, designed by outsourced artist Chloe Chu, who also designed a lot of the clothing on the original. The cool shoes were designed by Meng Guan. Oh, and of course, it doesn't matter if the Underground are friendly to you at the moment. Photo mode does not discriminate. If you click hide enemies, they'll disappear even when they're not a threat. Speaking of enemies, I'm curious about how the game files classify certain assets. Hide enemies also ends up affecting certain friendly NPCs, except it varies from model to model. In some cases, it doesn't affect their clothes. For some reason, their heads might disappear, or things they're holding or sitting on. In my experience, this tended to happen with scripted encounters and rarely typical pedestrians, so that might be the key distinction.
We also came up with some more high-intensity interactions. Every so often, we body snatch a pedestrian and turn them into a full AI.
Further investigation reveals that this consistently happens between NPCs who have scripted encounters with each other. So if two people are talking about the election vote, for instance, and exchanging unique animations, their faces will vanish when you hide enemies. I noticed on ArtStation that faces and hair are handled by different teams than the clothing. Often, assets are also outsourced to other studios. In fact, teams like Airship Studios exist for that purpose, and deserve as much credit as the main studio.
The good news is all our project managers rallied, whether internally, externally, and totally supported when we had to make changes.
Remnants of enemy technology that you find around the world will also be classified as enemies themselves, getting hidden away when you toggle the option.
Hey, bump it. Wiggle, wiggle.
Changing the suit.
Yeah.
The one other glitch in the Matrix thing I found was by taking the photo mode out of bounds. If you swim far enough away from Manhattan, you can find these yachts sailing by, and they actually look pretty damn great. I can't help but appreciate Insomniac going the extra mile by having actual people on them, though zooming in reveals that the people look like this. And I won't lie, this brought me a lot of joy. I grew up on Enter Electro, so I love me some blocky PS1 looking textures in my Spidey. It has its charm. After recording them, I did a quick Google search and found that they're actually a pretty infamous meme within the player base. Reddit user Senoritako even found that the boat people make a return in the PS5 remaster, with a cheeky little addition stuck to their shirts. God bless Insomniac. Miscellaneous little things. NPCs trying to hail a taxi will never get a taxi, but they will get increasingly frustrated.
Taxi! Taxi, taxi, taxi!
Setting the weather to heavily snowing will spawn NPCs with umbrellas. When you're running through crowds, Miles might drop a little reference to the MCU.
On your left, right, left.
If you're into spectating sports, you can catch some fairly involved basketball games in both titles, though I wasn't able to find any tennis matches at any times of day in Miles Morales. Possibly because of the snow? There's tennis matches in the original, though. And every match seems to have not only the same animation loop, but also the exact same players. On both sides. If you want to visit, the court is in the Upper West Side, near a lovely, lively little greenhouse. Oh, and one other thing. There's a fully solvable crossword that, if you zoom in, you can find some of the NPCs trying to figure out. If you enjoy that sort of thing, keep your eyes peeled. You can work this one out yourself too.
So the tattoo is of you?
It's my name on his arm.
And how long have you been dating?
3 months.
Oh my god.
The reason Miles was my favorite game to photograph was its myriad photo mode options, which includes being able to set up your own lighting. It brings out an entirely new dimension for a project like this, because so much of virtual photography involves location scouting for good lighting. That's not exactly easy to do when your subjects are random, unplanned encounters.
Photo mode is an intrinsically creative thing, right? People want to express themselves in our game and then immediately to share it with their friends.
But Miles Morales' photo mode goes the extra kilometer to ensure you can whip up shots oozing with style anywhere. Not just the photo mode, in fact, but this stunning recreation of New York with all its loving vignettes. I know that the PS5 remaster of 2018 Spider-Man allows for this too, so that's extra appreciated. Insomniac's come a long way since their first PS4 title in 2016, Ratchet & Clank, in which I'd had to turn off my HUD and use a sniper rifle scope to shoot photos. This year, they were awarded Best Community Support at the Fourth Focus's annual VP Awards, and I'm so excited to see where they go with Spider-Man 2. Till then, I'm going to be trekking across the universe with my favorite Lombax. Hey! Thanks so much for watching that. This was actually an excerpt from a much longer video, in which I go over even more games and NPCs I photographed in 2021. I've included a link in the description below, along with links to the social media pages where I post my photos. I also make video essays, right here, on YouTube, so if you like my stuff, consider subscribing. Thank you again for sticking around, and I'll see you, or I guess you'll see me, in the next one.